Hey, hey, thank you, boys. Good song. Honor song for Mr. Malcom Warburton. All right. Going on with the agenda here. We're going to have opening remarks. Chief and Council, so Chief Lewis is here, so come on down.
Pitamaan big school. Ngayon maipatsitan. Sitä hitukin nänas kumuna nuutta skun ganu magiano. Igukki neisikin pivitsiku ako paski uinu. Kamam tu niitä mahtan tahtoki toasen snu iguti igip niitä taugitsik. Iko igip muitsi hatto maski uinu. Aspinosa kas puhti tuota tan mui iguisku pajoga kiugiwi. Mui gigahtina no. Maski uinu igapi etuskitut. Ato ya tihto auta kita yawano maga. Mui weo gitit utamogigo kungstehigo kagit moskoido tago. Maski uinu nunskapun kagistutat. Maga tapui magan tutamagista muotan ekan gitahto. Ui tioga ne higa kipin takuhti tuota. Egun ekan kapamtani mayako. Misko tsiego takistanoga kipin kitta pahamoyako. Ego kunsteo oksine ma higipetus kago ako nutugo mga gipin takuhti minutoasinsa. First of all, I acknowledge the day again. Such a beautiful day for a special occasion. Tonight is very uplifting again to see our neighbors again. From the hill area, Paradise Hill area, you know, it stands to show that Dr. Warburton had made a great impact, not within only on our first stations, but within Paradise Hill area where he had, you know, practiced for so many years.
Great staff, glad participants, we are having a short meeting in Mr. Taylor's room, starting as soon as you can get there.
I was just thinking also, I was just going to mention also that we have a very committed people that came to our nation, worked for our nation for many years. There's a few in here too. Georgina Clemens is one of them. Teachers that had been here for a long time, you know. These committed people that came to our nation are the ones that make the difference, the biggest difference within our nation, a positive impact. And it's very sad to see them go, but we all must retire one day, just like Claude Young and I need to retire from farming, right? And similar. Okay, it's very sad when I heard that Mrs. Warburton, like what Eugene said, there was some miscommunication. They were really looking forward to this. You know, it would have been nice to see them here also. You know, September 6th would mark his day, the anniversary of his passing. There's got to be more of these events should be occurring, especially at his anniversary of his passing. And I was just talking to Albert. You know, we have a big gathering at Fort Pitt every fall, and commemorating our treaties and all of that. You know, I kind of mentioned to him it would be a good thing if we can include Dr. Warburton in there somehow with the presentation, because seeing that treaty, our healthcare is a treaty right, and that will really go hand in hand with what we talk about. So those are my opening comments, and you know, and I thank leadership for being here also, and the elders that are here, especially Joyce, one of our elders that we hardly ever see. I know that she must have wisdom and missed his services and all of that. Think about going forward. We need to find a good replacement yet that will be committed to work within our nation full time again in terms of health care. So with that, I'd like to thank you again, and I'd like to thank the caterer and enjoy the food. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Lewis. Hey, thank you very much. All right, it says Chief and Council. Is Council going to come up, say a few words? I know Doreen said he was going to say a few words, but I don't think she's here. Or is she? Oh. Trying to hide, I found you. Come on down.
Good morning or good afternoon. Nigani san tatam squaw, mamo tawe mau. Kuta kisagawa wiguanots, kapmuta tamautaski. Kiampugi says, his pagamskawa gi wayuma, kapenugwa, kitigisagaw, at sepugunanas kumatan. Ewapatigo, ewapat, ewite. Once kimaya go to asim snoak go simnoak tapanoak kinigi go noak. Mina wa maski winu kapik skisianuts. Mr. Hegakio, Mr. Hinista de Musitan. Higo egipemi wite waka kio I sino auta kitaskino. Mr. He mam tonate in a nuts kagisagag. E petoag. We can magana Mrs. Warburton e pe si web ticket e pe we sakte he te pe matot mo te gi pe we tegwa maganuita mo au kai msta hemam toneta msawata na ki pe ta go no ko apam go no ta e mi te tiano it's nuita mo also. First of all, I want to greet you all in the name of the Creator for being here today to celebrate our wonderful Dr. Warburton. And I also greet you all for facing another day to be with our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, our parents, our siblings, as we face tough times in the coming season. Many of us have heavy hearts because we have lost many loved ones. Many of us challenge every day. However, still be grateful that we are alive, that we have air to breathe, that we see our children next to us. I just got off the phone on my way here with Mrs. Liz Warburton. It broke my heart to hear her cry. But I also, reminded her that Dr. Warburton is watching us from the beautiful place of heaven, and that she shouldn't worry that she's not here. But she sends her most wonderful thank yous to everyone in Onion Lake for having her and her family be a part of our community as well all these years. Dr. Warburton not only was a doctor to many of our children, but he's also a wonderful friend. If he wasn't seeing patients, he was talking to the staff, giving life advice. That I missed. But not only Dr. Warburton, Georgina, late Mary, late Linda, they all played a role. Our work family become family, and that I miss. I started working for Running Lake Health Board in 1991. I didn't know what I was doing. That was my first professional job, was at the health center, but Dr. Warburton guided me along, Georgina, Late Mary, Lillian, of course, Linda, and Albert. They all guided me, and we became family. And then today, now when I go to the clinic, it's like, holy smokes, I don't even know half of the staff that are there. I'm just trying to see familiar faces here, but it's so good to see the growth of our community as well. You know, he played a big role in that. So I just also want to thank the singers. Thank you guys for coming out. Your songs are powerful, the songs that you sing. The Naskumtnao drummers for coming out. Also my brother Howard for your opening prayer, appreciate that. And I just want to recognize the team. I think we're live here, Nathan and Cal. Thank you for being here as well. So with that, I hear Eugene's stomach grumbling here. I think I'll cut it short. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your day. Thank you on behalf of Chief and Council, on behalf of past, older staff. Thank you, Dr. Warburton.
Thank you very much, Councillor Doreen. Albert Jimmy. Ivan, come on down. Mic is yours. Where are you from?
My little buddy. No, I was just thinking about calling. And I believe Dr. Warburton came from Scotland, I believe, came overseas. It's a powerful thing to see somebody especially dealing with people for so many years. We're a tough people. I remember I came back to the community in the 80s, and the doctor gave me a lot of life. I was kind of a wild guy, and he gave me even a lot of advice, just as a young man. And I remember when he first said, "Who are you?" You know. I said, "Well, who would you know?" I said, "My Muslim is." I told him. He said, "Oh, Victor." You know how he used to talk, Victor. But yeah, he just left such a model of love and of care to all the surrounding area. What a blessing it was to have him, and it left behind something that I think for all the health professionals to follow. I don't know if that can be possible today, to be somewhere for 40 years. You got to really be committed. And I guess that's the challenge, right? For us to be committed. And this was a man that left that love and care behind for us. And so we appreciate him today, and it's too bad his family wasn't here, but we thanked him for loaning him to us. Because when you serve, a lot of times it's your family that walks with you, no matter what the profession is. And so we're thankful that his family lent him to us and to the folks around. So we thank God for Dr. Warburton's life today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivan. All right, Albert. Oh, somebody else? Darren? Come on down, Darren. Don't be shy. Oh, Joe, okay. Thought we were pointing at Darren there.
Good morning. I greet you all in the Creator's name. I won't take too long. Actually, I only came up for just to be seen, so when they called for line up for lunch, I'll be there. No. Yeah, Dr. Warburton was quite a character towards the end. You go see him, sit down, and he looks at you and writes down your prescription by the time, before you even sit down. That's how good he was. No, I had an experience with him. I was a school maintenance man for a long time, and I had a little accident where I cut my finger right across the tip. So I grabbed some paper towel, drove to the clinic, told the receptionist of my little accident, so he took me out the back right away. Dr. Warburton comes in and asks what happened. He said, I accidentally cut my finger. So he took the paper off and looked at it. Oh, okay, maybe 2 or 3 stitches. So he's getting his stuff ready. I'm looking at the tray. One thing was missing. And I kind of looked at him, and I looked at the tray, back at him, and here's that tray, that needle that numbs your finger. There was nothing there. He looked at me and took my finger. You're a tough hockey player. And just sews up my finger. The needle wasn't too bad, but it had to be one hell of a long piece of thread. Man, you can just feel it twisting inside your finger. And he gave me 3 stitches. All right, there you go back to work, and that was it. But you remember stuff like that about Dr. Warburton. And even just sitting there talking to him, or when you're done your appointment, he'll sit down and ask you questions about your family and all this. And, like, he just didn't kick you out right away. He took the time to talk and listen, which was, like everybody's saying, you're going to have a hard time finding somebody like that that's committed to just listening. And I do miss him a lot of times, but when I think about my finger, I don't know. But thank you very much for listening and coming out and remembering Dr. Warburton. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Good memories. All right, anybody else from leadership? Counselors? All righty. Albert Jimmy, Director of Health.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the Warburton's family. I'd like to say sincere condolences again. I didn't have a chance to say to all of them. And I understand Liz is supposed to be beaming in on the stream. Hopefully she is. Hopefully he hears that. And sorry, I have to read through my script here. And we get, as old I am, it's pretty hard to read. I started work in 1973, and shortly 2 years after that, Dr. Warburton started. So I've known him since then. And at the time, he was just coming from the other country. You know, somebody mentioned Scotland or England. That's where he was from. So he had to practice under another doctor for a little while. They called the person locum, under a doctor. So that's what he did. And shortly after that, he was working under Dr. Graham at that time. Dr. Graham retired. Then he bought the practice from him. And that's how it started years back. Surprisingly, I remember that far. And then 1993, that's when the leadership of the day decided to take over the health programs from the federal government. And also at the same time, the following year, I think Dr. Warburton started a full-time, clinic in Onion Lake, 5 days a week. The leadership of the day formed a corporation, non-profit corporation, Onion Lake Health Board, Inc. And Dr. Warburton was one of the 5 board members. It was very nice to have, a very, intelligent and person that knows about the medical field to be on the board. So it guided the board along. And the other person you see here also, Georgina, was one of the 5 board members. So that's how it started. And it was really nice to have Dr. Warburton on the board. It really sets the stage of where the organization was going and where it is now. One of his main visions is to really have more services, health services for Onion Lake. And he used to talk about the hospital. We should have a hospital. Other communities, other little towns, they have a hospital. Onion Lake should have one, for the number of population we have, he said. So that was one of his goals or visions. But at the time, it couldn't happen. He was also always, he can look ahead, what's going to happen. And he knew we wouldn't be able to get a hospital right away because of the political climate, both by the province and the federal. So he suggested we should start an urgent care center with a few holding observation beds. That's what he was suggesting. And that's what we put in our Treasury Board submission to the federal government. Eventually, there'll be a time that we will need that urgent care center with, he suggested at that time, 6 holding beds, observation beds. So hopefully we'll get there. That's one of his visions, and it's with our work plan. I'm going to name or go through a list of where he assists us in some of these initiatives. He was involved in the development and building of our Elders Lodge in 1985, which is a housing complex, but he was still, he still gave us some guidance on there. And later, a few years later, he assisted us in opening elders' personal care home for level 1 and 2. And that, right now it's housed where the first group home built, 2006. That's where it's there. They have the clients there. But before that, we had housed them into that second group home right east of the health center. That's where it started. In 2012, they moved to the present location. The vet office was expanded also, and we used his expertise to recommend, and he recommended that there was more space for the health services. And before that, before we extended the building, the clinic was situated, I don't know if you guys remember the Justice Building. That used to be a laundromat and a billiard hall. That's where his clinic was at first, 1994, and so was our health services. And he was a very unique man, and he was fond of paintings. And he suggested to me that he wanted a painting. Okay, I thought. So I go ahead, have a painting. I thought he was going to buy a picture with a frame. And what he did is paint his one wall of the room, a mural. And when we extended the health center in 1996, when we were moving out, into the new place, he wanted to move that picture, the whole wall. But he left it there, so I don't know what happened. He also assisted us in a lot of areas for health services. One of the services that really he was a big part was the lab and x-ray. In 1994, the health reform in Saskatchewan was happening. But before that, he kept saying, and the federal government approaches us, and if they asked us if we wanted an x-ray machine that was stored, with the Fed somewhere. So we said yes, and he says, take it. Let's develop, eventually maybe our own x-ray room. But he also recommended the lab along with it. That was before the reform. When the reform came about, and I don't know how he saw this coming, but the hospitals started to be closed in Saskatchewan, and Paradise Hill Hospital was one of them. And they were pulling out their lab technicians and their equipment, but they couldn't do that in Onion Lake Clinic. We own the equipment, and so is the other lab equipment. So all they did was they were going to pull the lab technician, but that didn't happen because he suggested we start negotiating way beforehand and develop that X-ray lab service. It so happens that with his expertise, we negotiated the both governments, provincial and federal, and Onion Lake leadership of the day, tripart agreement, and both governments, for the funding to hire the lab technician. So that's how it started. Now we have 2 lab technicians. This is because of his insight, what he suggested to us, which we are really grateful. I mentioned he was one of the board members, and we use his knowledge to develop our organization and our health services. In 1994, I mentioned he started his full-time practice. the other health providers, like the community health. This too, he started the primary health care in Onion Lake. Years before, the other regions started their primary health care. He's seen things that are going to happen, and he was suggesting these things to us. He also initiated the first diabetes survey for school-aged children. I think it was around 1999. It's just to gauge, what's out there in diabetes for the young people. It was surprising that when they did the survey, they found out there were school-aged children with diabetes. So right away, they were, given, medication, so they wouldn't be, drastic, rampant with the diabetes, with complications. And before he resigned, he also assisted us to negotiate his replacement and assist us to negotiate with the Ministry of Health and the health region of the day was Prairie North, to negotiate a salary payment instead of the fee-for-service. And that first happened in Onion Lake. And after that, other health regions started to initiate same thing with other doctors, salary payment. And before he resigned, a couple years before, he too was paid on salary payment, but he called it blended, arrangement, where he was fee-for-service, but we used him in the admin as a consultant. So it was kind of a blended. But when we left, and now the other doctors, when they come to Onion Lake, they're on salary payment. And we had a good feedback from the community. It's even with the nurse practitioners, we had a good feedback with the doctors. They took the time to listen to us, they said. I know fee-for-service, it's in this country, but in other countries like US, Alaska, the First Nations over there developed their own First Nation health system. When we visited them, and Dr. Warburton recommended this to us, we should visit this community in Alaska where they developed their own First Nation health system. When we there, they talked about what they had before they implemented their First Nation health system. They describe exactly what we have today. Long wait time when you want to see the doctor. And the amazing part was they talked about the nerve drugs that we get when something's bothering us. Most of the doctors give us painkillers. That doesn't really help us, but that's numb the pain. That's what was happening in Alaska too. And then they kind of work with the other health professionals, the primary health care model. They work together. So that's what we gathered at that trip. When we came back, I didn't really know what he was talking about before when he said primary health care. Then when I came back, he says, and I told him, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, we were doing the same thing what they're doing over there, but on a smaller scale, the health professionals working together. That's all it is, primary health care. Really, really understand what he meant. But anyway, when I talked about Alaska First Nations, after running their first health system, they reversed everything. They no longer have doctors work in fee-for-service. All their doctors on salary payment. And they incorporated their traditional healing along with contemporary medical doctors. They work side by side. When you see a medical doctor and find out what's bothering you inside, they don't prescribe you painkillers. They refer you to the mental health therapist. And the mental health therapist, they use also traditional mental health, cultural people. You choose which way you want to go. After a few years, they found out, these clients that were being prescribed the painkillers, it went right down. Because now the doctors were doctoring and taking care of the clients, not just rinking up clients on fee-for-service. That's the difference. And that's what he promoted in our health center. And that's the dream we have and the plan. He also assisted us in developing and planning the MRI in Lloydminster, and we ran it for a few years. But it became complicated and challenged to keep it going, simply because both governments had I guess I would say, have a part to play how much income they pay you. They set the number of, units they'll pay for the year, and they divide it by 12, and that's how much they pay you. And they didn't pay the going rate of what's out there on private, clinics rate. They didn't want to pay that. So that, we had to fold that up after 5 years. We couldn't make it feasible. The other thing also Dr. Warburton initiated is that before he resigned, he had to convert his medical health files from Nightingale to another, electronic system. And it was MedAccess that was chosen. So he started that before he resigned. And then when he resigned, that was, handed over to Anya Lake Health. So besides being our family doctor, when he resigned and the health reform was going, the family doctor era ended. Nowadays, it's pretty hard to get a family doctor. No doctor wants to recruit or get clients to be their clients. That's the difference today. Besides that, also, he worked as our privacy officer for the health clinic. He was also our medical health officer for the nation. And he was also medical director for the ambulance operation, Equisquid Home Care and Assisted Living. And he was also our main consultant for negotiations, all these initiatives, and so forth. Around 1989, the leadership of the day gave him an honorary status membership. I think it's on a picture there. That's what he got for serving quite a few years with us. At the time he came to me, he was so happy and excited and asked me, "Can I run for chief next election?" and I said, "Yeah, but you could have run a long time ago, because according to the Indian Act, anybody could run." status or non-status. Oh, really? I could have been chief long time ago, he said. I mentioned, I think he had other visions also. He also talked about a surgical or surgery center. You know, he suggested that we should open one, not in Honor Lake, but in other major city. And he also talked about the urgent care center. You know, he mentioned these before they were opening up across the country. He had that insight to see things coming in, to be happening. Nowadays, you see these surgical centers, private surgical centers opening up right across the country. And also the urgent care centers. So that's what in our plan, and hopefully we get to that state. That was his dream. And of course, eventually, he said, once we get the urgent care center with the holding beds, population will be growing by then. It wouldn't be that hard to open a hospital. He had set the stage for us. I really enjoyed working with him. As people say, he was my friend, not only my doctor. And he was a really expert resource to work with the other health services. He had a really keen sense of how he described things or issues. Thank you. He had put humor into a lot of things, the way he says them. Even when he describes the people. I don't want to say how he described me. An example is like Jack Layton, late Jack Layton. He's a politician, I think NDP. He used to call him the smiling guy. Anyway, we had fun also. I just want to mention a couple of things. I know maybe some other speakers will mention a couple of things. You know, when he started working with our community, he really wanted to get involved into the community, part of the community. And he really wanted to dance powwow. So the elders put him up in a teepee during the powwow. And he was really excited and came and all his, gear and his regalia and all that. And we put him in a teepee. And usually we have fire helpers. And it was late George Patagon, called him Dot. And his brother, Edward, were the fire keepers. And they knew he was in this teepee, and they played a trick on him. They changed the direction of those air flaps on top of the teepee once in a while, and that's what they did. Next morning, I asked Dr. Warburton, how his sleep. I didn't sleep very good, he said. That teepee, once in a while, has really got smoky. And he had to get up and go for fresh air outside. And these two guys were really just chuckling beside him. The other event was that when we were investigating the MRI project, we visited some clinics, and we ended up in Los Angeles. And we visited the MRI clinic there, got all the information. And it so happens that, our tour ended early, so we had to come earlier, so we booked our flights or rescheduled our flights early. But this was happening after, the 9/11, and they had strict security then. And, when you go through the gate, they pull out some travelers if they kind of notice something's wrong here, like changing flights. Why are they doing that? So we were flagged and we were pulled aside, and we had to go through, other strict security procedure. Oh, he was mad about that. And kept asking me all the way, did we look suspicious? I kept telling him, no, I think that was just the procedure now. And, no, I think we look suspicious. Did we? And we got home safely anyway. And we had a good laugh after that. So those are the things, I enjoyed working with him that way. And I don't think there will be another person that come. Hopefully there will be. Last night, I was just going through my speech, and I was worried, if I have quite a few things to say. So I thought I'll go through it again, but I thought, I'd go through, scroll my phone. For some reason, TikTok came on. So first thing that come up was this. I don't know if it's written there, but I'll read it here. When tomorrow comes, start without me. When tomorrow starts without me, please try to understand that an angel came and called my name, took my hand. The angel said, place was ready in heaven far above, and that I have to leave behind all those I dearly love. But when I walked through the gates of heaven, I felt so at home, for God looked down and smiled at me, told me, welcome home. So when tomorrow starts without me, don't think we're far apart, for every time you think of me, I'm right there in your heart. I really believe He's watching us. And that's the message from Him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Albert. I didn't know he was involved in a lot of things. That was a lot of things he was involved in. We have a few more speakers to call up here. Representing the Onion Lake Health Board, Kelvin, come on down.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank the Creator for lending us another day. In regards to Dr. Warburton, with listening to all the speakers before me, everybody has that special memory of Dr. Warburton. For myself, we have a lot as well. So, but some I will not share today. But he did do a lot for our community. back in the day when I was involved with Chief and Council back in the early 2000s. That was my, not only was he my doctor before, but also working with him as a colleague, because my portfolio back then was health as well. And started working with him with the vision he had, as Albert explained to us and talked to us of the vision he had. I was, at times, I would be, wow, like just way over my head. Like his thinking was way beyond. He looked into the future and everything. He was really instrumental with whatever health is today. Not only with the past leaders, past board members, past staff, but also with Dr. Warburton was one that really initiated a lot. And we really thank him for that. So as of today, before I forget to, I'd like to send my condolences to the Warburton family. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here with us today, but you know, plans are, they are and stuff. And like even today, I phoned once, yes, I won't be here today. I phoned again, oh yeah, I can make it. Then I had to phone again, no, I can't make it. And I'm here. So I kept having to shift my schedule around for the past 3 days. But anyway, with that, I would, on behalf of the health board, we'd like to send our condolences to the family. And also, what else was there? Word of advice, read your emails right. I didn't know I had to speak today. I had to really think about what I was going to talk about today. And with what Doreen said, Ivan, Albert, you could tell the close relationship he had with the people there, with the leaders of our community. And I was glad to be a part for 2 years, a part of a planning committee back then. And now that we're at where we're at, it makes things more easier. It doesn't seem that easy because health came from just a little area like that. Now we're way up here with so many staff to deal with and stuff. And yeah, sometimes it's really, I wouldn't say overwhelming. I'm proud of it, really, where we're at today. We're getting to a part where we're self-sufficiency, and that's the goal. You know, especially with having the 6 emergency beds and things like that, we can't go wrong there. I want to keep going ahead. That's one of the dreams. Follow Dr. Warburton's dreams. This is what he had set, and keep working along that instead of trying to come up with a different idea. No, let's do it this way. No, let's follow this. He was on the right path. Let's continue that path. Okay? So with regards to that, thank you very much for listening. I can't say any more. Everybody else said quite a bit. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Kelvin. All right, before we get into the slides, so we have one more my old boss. One of the oldest employees besides Albert Warburton. Georgina Clements, come on down. You started in 1934, on the lake, right? When you were 18?
Yeah, when I was 18. It's so nice to be here with everybody today. Today we're here to honor a man that spent a great deal of his working life providing care and support and understanding to the community of Onion Lake. Most of the people sitting in this room have been a recipient of that care and compassion. We all know that he was a great doctor and a friend to this community. Albert has shared Dr. Warburton's legacy and his contributions to Onion Lake over the years. Today I want to speak a bit, not so much about the professional physician, but as a regular guy that we got to know as staff working with him over the years. First of all, let me take a minute to acknowledge Dr. Warburton's wife, Liz. It was clear to all the staff that Liz loved Dr. Warburton dearly. From what we could see, she managed his personal and family life. She organized family gatherings and all of the things that happened in their family and allowed him to focus on the practice of medicine. At Christmas, the presents would be under the tree and the fridge would be full of good eats. I'm convinced that he never packed a suitcase, he never booked a flight. Liz handled it all. Hello? Okay.
Start over.
No, people want to eat, Eugene. He was the envy of all the staff in the lunchroom. He always had the best lunches, and sometimes a tasty dessert to go with it. More than once, I have cut off a sliver of his piece of cake, put it back, and I don't think he ever knew. He might have, but he never challenged me on it. It was no secret that he could cook nothing. Nothing. One time, Liz went home to Scotland for a month, and he ate a can of soup every day for that month. He did lose a lot of weight. He always came to work dressed very professionally. One day he showed up in a real snazzy sweatshirt and what we used to call years ago leisure pants, and they're just like classy sweatpants. We were all abuzz about this change in his attire. I think it was the day that Liz decided that he needed to relax and change it up a bit. Now let's talk a little bit about his driving. It was erratic, it was distracted, and he was a speed demon. He always had lots of things on his mind, but the road was not one of them. We were all nervous about his driving. The lab techs, and I don't think either one of them are here today. Oh yeah. Anyway, they drove with him. I'm sure some days it was quite a ride. Whenever he and I would go to a funeral or make a house call together, I would always insist on driving, and then I knew we were going to get back safe. One day, he was driving to Onion Lake in the wintertime, and he came across late Louis Harper standing in the ditch along the side of the road. Louis waved aggressively at Dr. Warburton, and Dr. Warburton waved aggressively at Louis, and just kept blowing down the road. About 20 minutes later, after Dr. Warburton got to the clinic, in comes Louis. He had tried to flag down Dr. Warburton because he'd been cutting wood, and he had cut himself with his chainsaw, and it was a really bad gash. After Dr. Warburton got him all fixed up, they both had a good chuckle about it. This doctor of ours had such a caring way about him. He would never refuse to make a home visit to an elder or somebody that was just too sick to come into the clinic. He was so soft and gentle with infants and small children, especially when they were really ill. I can still see in my mind's eye, he would lay his hand on them and he would talk to them in their ear, and it was a heart-melting sight. For all of us, his patients and his staff, he had a special way of settling you down when you're worried or anxious about something. If you were feeling stress about your health or the health of a loved one, he would always try to get to the bottom of the problem. His advice was always, don't worry until I tell you to worry. Personally, this bit of advice helped me many times cope with family health issues over the years. Dr. Warburton was a prolific reader. He was always up to date on the newest information in medicine. Anytime he and Liz would be going on a road trip to the city, she would drive and he would bury himself in medical journals in the back seat. He got his fix for reading in, and she was able to do the driving and get them safely to wherever they were going. Together, they raised two exceptional daughters, Rachel and Rebecca. He was always very proud of them. Rachel lives in Sherwood Park with her husband Kurt and their two boys, Carter and Spencer. Rebecca lives in Vancouver with her partner Neil. Grandsons Carter and Spencer provided such joy to Liz and Dr. Warburton. After they retired in Sherwood Park, they were able to spend much more and be part of their lives a lot more. We were so fortunate in this community to have had a physician that looked after us and the people here for so many years. He knew his patients' medical history, their family connections, and he truly cared about them as individuals and what they were interested in. We miss his wisdom, his wit, his caring, and his laugh. We miss all his quirky sayings. He will be remembered in our hearts and in this community for a very long time. I have one fun fact about him. Did you know he was a Rolling Stones fan? He even went to a concert one time, and he told me after he got back that somebody offered him some marijuana. Who knew our doctor was a rocker? In closing, most people go through life making only a small or if any impact on the lives of people. Dr. Warburton's life, however, had a major impact on an enormous amount of people, to a life well lived. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgina. Hey. Okay, we're going to have a presentation of the plaque. I don't know how we're going to do that. And then we're going to have a slideshow here. Just quickly, I just want to talk about Warburton. He was a little crazy. When I was... I first met him years ago, but when I actually really met him, he had asked me if I was involved in a band called, I think, Midnight Runners we used to be called. But in Cree, you say that, Pansapsu it was called. So we changed the name to Young Country. Anyway, why he was a little crazy was his daughters had seen us play at Harlan Hall or Fort Pitt Hall. And we had house speakers for our speakers, house stereo and all that. And his daughters seen that. And his daughters told him they're a good band, buy them equipment. Sure enough, he gave me a blank check. Well, he said, go price them out, and he gave me a blank check. I said, are you for real? He said, yep. My girls said, go buy those poor little Indians equipment. They sound good, but they need equipment. Sure enough, gave me a blank check. Went and bought $6 worth of equipment, and we paid them all back, but that's what I mean. He was a little crazy to give me a blank check. On a Friday night. But anyway, he was the reason why Young Country started off pretty good. But anyway, that's my story, Warburton. All right, ladies. So we do it slideshow now, and then we'll figure out the presentation after? All right. Do we need to dim the lights? Where's the... No? Can you see? All right. good? All right, Misty, how you gonna do this? Where are you? And thank you again, all the speakers, Chief and Council. Hi, hi, thank you very much. Yeah, this part, we were gonna present the plaque and everything to the family. And like we said, unfortunately, they couldn't make it down. Misty, where are you? Let's talk. Yeah, that's empty. All right, I guess we'll take a picture.
Oh, here?
One by one, or
Maybe just mention,
you want?
maybe I'll mention what we're about. Yeah, the planning committee wanted some kind of a plaque, and they showed me the size of a plaque, and I said, no, make it bigger. And this is what they came up with, and I said, that's good. So we're going to hang this up at the health center somewhere to display it for the community, and along with the other award he got in 2013, which I forgot. I skipped it in my speech. I should have mentioned it. In 2013, he was awarded the Healthcare Excellency Award for what he was doing in Onya Lake. And this award is from the Saskatchewan Health. And this will display this along with the picture. Yeah. And also with the little trophy he's got. That's the same thing. It's the Health of an Individual Award. That's what the excellency is about. Okay? And this blanket is for the family. It was meant that we were going to give it to Liz today, but we can still do that later. And when the planning committee were talking about how they're going to do this, they said, we'll do this today, but down the road they were said, we will miss some of the community members. Maybe we could do it in a major event like Treaty Day. And the chief mentioned also 1-year anniversary, passing of late Dr. Warburton. So, but we'll keep this and we'll make sure that Liz gets it. Yep. Okay, good. Closer. Good. Put it here for now, people to see.
Thank you, Georgina. Vanna, we'll call you Vanna. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. We've gone past our time here, so what we'll do right now is we'll eat. are we doing another prayer, Misty? Where's Misty? Huh? Singers? One more song, and then we'll eat? Okay, singers, one more song, and then we'll eat quickly. Where did he go? I'd like to thank Nathan, going live. Thank you very much. Thank you for your services, and I hope Liz gets to see this. Hey, hey.